Welcome back. Don't forget to like this video and hit that subscribe button and join our YouTube family. Let's start the second part of the episode. The courtroom had already been pushed to its limits, but what came next shattered whatever composure remained. Robyn's voice still echoed in the air. I wasn't the only one. I was told what to do. For a moment, no one moved. Then the explosion came. Gasps tore through the gallery. Reporters surged forward, pens flying across paper, cameras flashing in rapid bursts. The tension that had been building for days finally snapped. All eyes turned to Cody. He didn't move at first. Then slowly, his head turned. His expression was no longer controlled. It was raw, furious, disbelieving. That's a lie, he said, his voice low but cutting through the noise like a blade. Robyn shook her head violently, tears streaming. No, she cried. You told me. You said we needed protection, that we couldn't trust them, that we had to secure something for ourselves. The judge slammed the gavel repeatedly. Order! Order! But order was already gone. This wasn't testimony anymore. This was collapse. Meri stood instantly, her voice sharp and commanding. Your Honor, this is exactly what we warned the court about. When deception unravels, it doesn't stop, it spreads. Janelle followed, her tone colder, more precise. She's not defending herself anymore, she said. She's redirecting blame. The courtroom simmered, caught between chaos and control. The judge leaned forward, his voice firm. Mrs. Brown, he said, locking eyes with Robyn, you will confine your statements to verifiable facts. Allegations against others must be supported by evidence. Robyn swallowed hard. But something had changed. She was no longer trying to survive quietly. She was fighting. I do have proof, she said, her voice trembling but determined. Messages. Conversations. Things he said, things he told me to do. Cody surged to his feet. This is insane, he shouted. You're trying to drag me down with you. Robyn turned toward him, desperation turning into anger. You're already in it, she snapped. You signed the papers. You approved the transfers. The room erupted again. The judge's gavel struck harder than before. One more outburst, and I will clear this courtroom. Silence followed. But it was fragile. Robyn's attorney stepped in quickly, trying to regain control. Your Honor, my client requests permission to submit additional evidence, communications between herself and Mr. Brown that may clarify his involvement. The judge hesitated. The weight of the moment was undeniable. Submit it, he said finally. A new file was brought forward, thinner than the others, but far more dangerous. Janelle watched closely as the documents were handed to the judge. Meri's expression remained steady, but her eyes sharpened. They had expected resistance. They had expected denial. But this was something else entirely. The judge adjusted his glasses, scanning the first page. His expression didn't change. But the silence stretched longer and longer. Read it into the record, he instructed. Robyn's attorney nodded, his voice tight. Message dated August 14th, he began. We need to start setting things aside. Quietly. Don't involve the others. They'll complicate everything. The courtroom stirred. Cody's jaw tightened. That could mean anything, he said quickly. But the reading continued. Message dated September 2nd. Make sure everything is in your name. It's safer that way. If things go wrong, we'll still have something. Now the reaction was louder, more intense. Cody's composure cracked. That's taken out of context, he shouted. Robyn's voice cut in, shaking but fierce. Then explain it. The courtroom was no longer divided between prosecution and defense. It was splitting down the middle. Meri rose slowly. Your Honor, she said, her tone controlled but firm. Even if Mr. Brown was aware of certain actions, the evidence clearly establishes who initiated, orchestrated, and benefited from the deception. Janelle added quietly, this doesn't erase her actions. It confirms the scale of them. The judge nodded slightly, but his focus remained on Cody. Mr. Brown, he said, you will return to the stand. A ripple of shock moved through the room. Cody hesitated, then stepped forward. He took the oath again. This time, his confidence was gone. Did you send these messages? The judge asked. Cody exhaled slowly. Yes, he admitted. The word landed like a hammer. Robyn closed her eyes. Not in relief. Not in victory. But in something far more complicated. But Cody continued quickly. That doesn't mean what she's saying it means. I didn't tell her to steal money. I didn't tell her to forge anything. The prosecutor stepped forward. But you did instruct her to separate finances, to conceal assets, to act independently from the rest of the family. Cody hesitated. I was trying to protect us, he said. Meri's voice cut through instantly. Protect yourselves from us? Silence. The prosecutor pressed harder. And when you saw irregularities? Transfers? Missing funds? Cody's voice dropped. I didn't ask questions. Why not? A long pause. Because I didn't want to know. That answer hit harder than any accusation. The judge leaned back, his expression unreadable. Willful ignorance, he said quietly, does not absolve responsibility. Robyn's tears had stopped. She wasn't crying anymore. She was staring straight ahead, as if the weight of everything had finally settled into something solid. Something final. The courtroom had reached a new understanding. This was never just one person's betrayal. It was a system of silence, a chain of decisions, a series of choices made and avoided. Meri stepped forward one last time. Her voice was calm, but absolute. This family didn't fall apart overnight, she said. It was dismantled piece by piece, lie by lie, choice by choice. She looked at Robyn, then at Cody. And now, we're finally seeing all of it. The judge raised the gavel. The room froze. This court will recess to review the newly submitted evidence, he announced. A pause. But before bringing the gavel down, he added, what has been revealed today changes the scope of this case. His eyes moved across the room. Significantly. Crack. And, just like that, everything changed again. Outside, the storm had begun. Rain pounded against the courthouse steps. Reporters rushed to broadcast the latest developments. Headlines were already forming. Cody implicated. Robyn strikes back. Family betrayal turns mutual. Inside, the damage was deeper. Irreversible. Robyn sat alone at the table. Not reaching for Cody anymore. Not pleading. Not defending. Because now there was no alliance left. Only truth. The rain hadn't stopped. By the time the court reconvened, the storm outside had grown heavier, louder, relentless, mirroring the turmoil now locked inside the courtroom walls. Water streaked down the tall windows like blurred lines, distorting the world beyond. But inside, everything was painfully clear. This was no longer just a trial. This was judgment in motion. Robyn sat motionless at the defense table. She no longer cried, no longer pleaded. Whatever desperation had driven her before had hardened into something else, something quieter, colder. Acceptance, or perhaps resignation. Across the room, Cody looked different too. Not angry, not defensive, just worn. The kind of wear that comes from realizing there is no version of the story where you walk away untouched. The judge entered. The gavel struck. Court is back in session. No build-up. No delay. The end was approaching. Before this court proceeds to final determinations, the judge began, his voice steady. There are matters that must be clarified. His gaze settled first on Robyn. Mrs. Brown, you have admitted to concealing assets, diverting funds, and providing false information. A pause. Do you dispute any of these findings? Robyn lifted her head slowly. Her voice, when it came, was quiet. No. The single word echoed louder than any denial ever could. A ripple moved through the gallery. Not shock. Not anymore. Just confirmation. The judge turned to Cody. Mr. Brown, you have acknowledged authorizing financial documents without proper inquiry and failing to act upon discovering irregularities. Cody's jaw tightened. Yes. Another admission. Another piece falling into place. The judge folded his hands. The court must now determine not only responsibility, but intent. That word hung heavy. Intent. Because intent changes everything. Meri rose again, but this time, her voice was softer. Not sharp. Not cutting. Final. Your Honor, she said, we are no longer asking what happened. We are asking what it meant." She gestured toward the evidence laid out over days of testimony. A hidden house, a secret account, forged signatures, stolen funds meant for children. Each phrase landed with quiet force. These are not accidents. A pause. They are choices. Janelle stood beside her. And those choices had consequences, she added. Not abstract ones. Real ones. Lived ones. Her eyes briefly scanned the courtroom. Trust was broken. Stability was destroyed. And a family was dismantled. The defense didn't rise immediately this time, because there was little left to defend. When Robyn's attorney finally stood, his voice lacked its earlier urgency. "Your Honor, my client has accepted responsibility." He hesitated. "But we ask the court to consider the emotional and psychological pressures she faced." A familiar argument. But now it sounded distant. "We ask for leniency." The judge didn't respond right away. Instead, he looked down at the documents again. Then back up. "Leniency," he repeated. The word lingered. Then, unexpectedly, he addressed Robyn directly. "Mrs. Brown, do you have anything further to say before this court delivers its ruling?" The room stilled. Every eye turned to her. Robyn stood slowly. This time, there was no trembling panic. No frantic energy. Just stillness. "I don't expect forgiveness," she said. Her voice was steady. Clear. "I don't think I deserve it." A breath. "But I want it on record that I never thought it would destroy everything." Her eyes flickered briefly toward Meri, toward Janelle, toward the empty space where something like family once existed. "I thought I was protecting myself." A pause. "I didn't realize I was tearing everything apart until it was already gone." No one interrupted. No one reacted. Because there was nothing left to challenge. She sat down. And with that, her part was finished. The judge leaned forward. This time, there was no hesitation. No pause. In reviewing the evidence presented, he began. "This court finds that the actions of the defendant were deliberate, sustained, and materially deceptive." Each word was precise. Measured. Final. The concealment of assets, the misuse of shared funds, and the falsification of documents constitute serious violations, both civil and criminal in nature. Robyn closed her eyes. The judge continued. "This court therefore rules as follows." The entire room seemed to lean forward. "All concealed properties and financial accounts are to be immediately disclosed and subjected to court-supervised division." A breath. "Full restitution is to be calculated and repaid." Another pause. "And based on the evidence of fraudulent conduct, this matter will be referred for criminal prosecution." The words hit like thunder. Not loud, but unavoidable. A collective reaction rippled through the gallery. Some gasped. Some whispered. Some simply sat in stunned silence. Robyn didn't move. Didn't react. Because somewhere deep down, she had already known. The judge turned slightly. Regarding Mr. Brown, Cody straightened instinctively. "The court finds that while direct orchestration has not been sufficiently established, willful negligence and facilitation are evident." Cody's expression hardened. "This matter will also be reviewed for potential legal accountability." It wasn't a full condemnation. But it wasn't freedom either. The judge raised the gavel. And this time, there was no pause. Crack. "Court is adjourned." And, just like that, it was over. The room erupted not in chaos, but in movement. Reporters rushed out, voices rising, headlines already forming. Cameras flashed. Doors opened and closed in rapid succession. The world outside was ready to consume what had happened inside. Meri and Janelle didn't rush. They stood quietly, side by side. Not celebrating, not smiling, just breathing. Because after everything, this wasn't victory. It was closure. Cody remained where he was for a moment, then slowly stood. He looked toward Robyn, not with anger this time, not even with blame, but with something emptier. Final. Then he turned and walked away. Robyn stayed seated, alone, the courtroom emptying around her. The echoes of everything, the lies, the plans, the choices lingering like ghosts in the silence. The house, the account, the signatures. The betrayal. All of it had led here. Because in the end, it wasn't just the truth that came out. It was everything that truth destroyed. And there was no going back. The courtroom didn't just react, it detonated. Robyn's accusation hung in the air like smoke after an explosion. For a moment, no one moved. No one breathed. Then the noise came all at once, shouting, gasping, reporters scrambling over one another, the sharp crack of cameras firing like gunshots. Cody shot to his feet. "That's a lie," he roared, his voice breaking through the chaos. His hands slammed against the table, eyes blazing with a mixture of fury and something far more dangerous, fear. "You're trying to save yourself." Robyn didn't back down. For the first time since the trial began, she stood upright, not small, not broken, but defiant. No, she shot back, her voice trembling, but loud enough to carry across the courtroom. "I'm telling the truth. You told me to do it. Every step. Every transfer. Every lie." The judge's gavel pounded again and again. "Order! Order!" But the courtroom had slipped beyond control. Meri and Janelle sat frozen, their expressions no longer just anger, but shock. This wasn't the ending they had imagined. This was something darker, something deeper, a complete unraveling. Finally, the judge stood. And that changed everything. "I will clear this courtroom if silence is not restored immediately." The authority in his voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Slowly, reluctantly, the noise died down. People sank back into their seats. Reporters steadied their hands. The storm quieted, but the tension only grew heavier. The judge turned his gaze to Robyn. "You are making a serious allegation under oath," he said, his tone cold and deliberate. "Are you stating that Mr. Brown directed and orchestrated these financial actions?" Robyn swallowed hard. "Yes," she said. No hesitation this time. All eyes turned to Cody. His confidence, the last piece of control he had left, began to crack. "That's not true," he said, but now his voice lacked its earlier force. "She's twisting things. I didn't tell her to do any of this." You told me it was our safety," Robyn interrupted, her voice rising again. "You said the family would turn on us. That we needed something of our own." Cody shook his head violently. "I said we needed stability, not fraud." "You signed the papers," she fired back. "I trusted you," he shouted. And there it was. The truth neither of them meant to confess, laid bare in a single exchange. The prosecutor stepped forward slowly, sensing the shift. "Your Honor," he said, calm but sharp, "this testimony fundamentally alters the structure of this case." The judge nodded slightly. "It does." Meri leaned forward, her voice low but cutting through the silence. "So now it's clear," she said. "You weren't just hiding things from us, you were building something together." Neither Cody nor Robyn answered. Because they couldn't. The prosecutor turned back to the stand. "Mrs. Brown," he said, "can you provide evidence that Mr. Brown instructed you to open the account and move funds?" Robyn hesitated. For the first time since her outburst, doubt flickered across her face. "But then yes," she said quietly. "Messages. Emails. Conversations." The courtroom stirred again. Cody's face drained of color. "Your Honor," the prosecutor continued, "we request immediate submission of all communication records between the defendants." Cody snapped. "This is insane," he barked. "You're just going to believe her? After everything?" The judge's eyes locked onto him. "I'm going to examine the evidence, Mr. Brown," he replied coldly. "And right now, that evidence is growing by the minute." Robyn slowly sat back down, her body trembling again, but something had changed. She wasn't just defending herself anymore. She had gone on the attack. And Cody knew it. He stared straight ahead, jaw clenched so tight it looked like it might crack. His mind was racing now, calculating, panicking. Because if Robyn had proof, everything could collapse on him. Meri exhaled slowly, shaking her head. "Unbelievable," she whispered. Janelle's eyes never left Cody. "It was never just her," she said quietly. "No," Meri replied. "It never was." The judge lifted his gavel one final time. "This court will recess for emergency review of newly presented claims and evidence." The room froze again. This trial, he continued, has now expanded beyond individual misconduct into potential coordinated fraud. He paused, letting the weight of that settle. And the consequences will reflect that. Bang! As the courtroom erupted once more, the lines had been redrawn. Robyn had made her move. Cody was no longer just a witness. He was a target. And the war between them had only just begun. The final day of the trial arrived under a silence so heavy it felt deliberate, as if even the world outside the courthouse understood that something irreversible was about to happen. No chaos this time. No shouting crowds. Just anticipation. Inside, every seat was filled. Every breath measured. Every eye fixed on the two people who had once stood side by side and were now ready to destroy each other completely. Robyn sat motionless, her face pale, but composed in a way it hadn't been before. The panic was gone. In its place, acceptance. Cody, across the room, looked like a man who hadn't slept in days. His confidence had eroded, piece by piece, until all that remained was tension and quiet dread. The judge entered. The gavel struck. Final session is now in order. The prosecutor stood first. Your Honor, he began, his tone steady. What began as a case of hidden assets and financial misconduct has revealed itself to be something far more severe, a coordinated effort of deception, fraud, and concealment involving multiple parties. He turned slightly, gesturing toward both Robyn and Cody. We have presented financial records, forged documents, witness testimonies, and now communications between the defendants themselves. A screen flickered to life. Emails. Messages. Timestamped. Undeniable. The courtroom leaned forward as one. The first message appeared. We need to move it quietly. They can't know. Robyn's name sat beneath it. A second message followed. I'll sign whatever is needed. Just handle it. Cody's. A murmur rippled through the gallery. Then more messages. Plans. Discussions. Warnings. Proof not just of involvement, but of awareness. Cody's head dropped. Not in defeat, but in realization. There was no way out of this. Robyn closed her eyes briefly. A single tear slipped down her cheek. Not dramatic. Not desperate. Just final. The prosecutor stepped forward again. This is not confusion. This is not emotional distress. This is collaboration. He paused. And with that, the state rests. Silence. Then the judge turned. Defense? Cody's attorney stood, but hesitated. For the first time in the entire trial, he looked unsure. Your Honor, Cody placed a hand on his arm. And slowly stood. I'll speak. The courtroom tensed instantly. The judge studied him. Proceed. Cody stepped forward, his voice low, but clear. I made mistakes, he said. No denial. No deflection. Just truth. I signed things I shouldn't have. I trusted where I shouldn't have. And when I realized what was happening, I didn't stop it. He swallowed hard. That's on me. The room was completely still now. But I didn't start this, he added, turning slightly toward Robyn. And I didn't plan it. The final day of the trial arrived under a silence so heavy it felt deliberate, as if even the world outside the courthouse understood that something irreversible was about to happen. No chaos this time. No shouting crowds. Just anticipation. Inside, every seat was filled. Every breath measured. Every eye fixed on the two people who had once stood side by side and were now ready to destroy each other completely. Robyn sat motionless, her face pale, but composed in a way it hadn't been before. The panic was gone. In its place, acceptance. Cody, across the room, looked like a man who hadn't slept in days. His confidence had eroded, piece by piece, until all that remained was tension and quiet dread. The judge entered. The gavel struck. Final session is now in order. The prosecutor stood first. Your Honor, he began, his tone steady. What began as a case of hidden assets and financial misconduct has revealed itself to be something far more severe, a coordinated effort of deception, fraud, and concealment involving multiple parties. He turned slightly, gesturing toward both Robyn and Cody. We have presented financial records, forged documents, witness testimonies, and now communications between the defendants themselves. A screen flickered to life. Emails. Messages. Timestamped. Undeniable. The courtroom leaned forward as one. The first message appeared. We need to move it quietly. They can't know. Robyn's name sat beneath it. A second message followed. I'll sign whatever is needed. Just handle it. Cody's. A murmur rippled through the gallery. Then more messages. Plans. Discussions. Warnings. Proof not just of involvement, but of awareness. Cody's head dropped. Not in defeat, but in realization. There was no way out of this. Robyn closed her eyes briefly. A single tear slipped down her cheek. Not dramatic. Not desperate. Just final. The prosecutor stepped forward again. This is not confusion. This is not emotional distress. This is collaboration. He paused. And with that, the state rests. Silence. Then the judge turned. Defense? Cody's attorney stood, but hesitated. For the first time in the entire trial, he looked unsure. Your Honor, Cody placed a hand on his arm. And slowly stood. I'll speak. The courtroom tensed instantly. The judge studied him. Proceed. Cody stepped forward, his voice low, but clear. I made mistakes, he said. No denial. No deflection. Just truth. I signed things I shouldn't have. I trusted where I shouldn't have. And when I realized what was happening, I didn't stop it. He swallowed hard. That's on me. The room was completely still now. But I didn't start this, he added, turning slightly toward Robyn. And I didn't plan it. The second part is over. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe the channel. Next part of the episode will be coming very soon.